Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Zornica, and I'll be the moderator of this session on behalf of Unimai Masters. The topic of the current session is what do companies really want and how can a master in management prepare you for it? It's a very interesting topic indeed, especially for those of you who are looking to start a new job or to achieve career enhancement and are exploring the opportunities of higher education to help them get to the next level professionally. Please welcome our panelists from the Maastricht School of Management, or MSM, Hermina Koyman, Deputy Director of Global Education Programs at MSM, Inka Didins, Recruitment Officer at MSM, Auka Kenchi, MSM Alumna, currently a Knowledge Management Officer, and Gabriel Soares, MSM Alumnus, now a Business Operations Specialist. We will start with an overview of the Master in Management program at MSM and then discuss with Auka and Gabriel how it helped them meet expectations in the job market. Your questions are very welcome, so if you have any, please write them down in the chat box or the Q&A section anytime during the webinar, and we'll take the time to address them at the end of it. This webinar is being recorded, so we will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording next week. Now I would like to give the word to Hermina to present herself and the MSM Master in Management program.
Thank you very much, Sunitsa. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Let me share my screen. I assume you can all see the screen, and I hope that you can hear me. While I start the session, maybe let's warm up your fingers. If you can, in the chat section, already just say hello and where you're from. That's always fun for us to see the internationality and the scope of where students come from. So please go and say hi in the chat, and I also make sure that you can hear me. So let me introduce myself. My name is Hermina, and I am effectively basically in charge of everything that's non-academic at Maastricht School of Management, which means from the first time a student has or potential student has contact with MSM, that you hear of MSM, while you are at MSM as a student, and then obviously once you graduate as an alumnus as well. I've also done the Executive MBA at Maastricht School of Management myself, so I have a bit of inside knowledge of how the teachers are as well, and so obviously I've got that advantage. Today with me is Inka. Inka, maybe you can say hello quickly.
Sure, thank you, Hermina. All right, well, everyone, thank you for being here today. It's really nice to see you. My name is Inka, and I'm the Recruitment Officer at Maastricht School of Management. So I work closely with Hermina on meeting potential students, also for the master program, but also for the MBA program. And I will be monitoring the chat today. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them during the chat. And otherwise, at the end of the event, we also have some time for a Q&A. Thank you.
Yes. So just talking about that, because we are going to try and cover quite a lot of information during this session, and it might sometimes go a bit quick, that I might just briefly cover a topic that you want to know more about. If this happens, once again, Inka is in the chat throughout the session, so don't hesitate to re-ask your question in the chat. Or if she somehow misses that during the chat, or you feel that you want to know even more, then afterwards you can always do a follow-up with an email, so don't hesitate with that. And then I'd also like our alumni, the guests, the star people today, to introduce themselves, because they're going to be doing most of the talking. So Gabriel and Alka. Gabriel, maybe you can start. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriele Suarez. I'm originally from Italy, Milano. And before moving to Maastricht, I used to live in Berlin. And then I moved to Maastricht to do the Master School of Management. And now I moved to Amsterdam, where I'm working for a logistics company. And I'm a district business operations specialist there. Yeah.
Thank you. Alka, your turn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Hermina. So, yeah, I'm Alka, and I'm from India. and currently also I'm in India, but I'm working for a South African organization called Economic Policy Research Institute. I'm working there as a knowledge management officer. And yeah, when I came to Maastricht for my master in management, I did my MCOM from India only. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this panel session. Thank you.
Thank you, Alka. Great. So once again, if during the chat you have any questions for Alka and Gabrielle, don't hesitate, put them there. Inka will gather those questions, and if during the topic it wasn't discussed, you can ask them at the end for you. So just to go through the agenda today, I'll briefly mention a little bit about Maastricht School of Management so that you get a bit of a feel of who we are in case you've never heard of us. And then we'll go straight into sort of what is important for companies and how MSM goes about teaching those competencies to make sure that when you graduate, you actually can be attractive to the job market because you have those skills. And then we'll look at that, how that actually helps you in your career. So we're going to have a section where we'll look at that career progression that you can expect. Before just finishing off with the practical information about the Master in Management, so the application process, the fees, the scholarships, and things like that. And then, as Inka already mentioned, at the end, there'll be a question and answer moment so that all the questions that weren't answered during your chat or anything extra important, you can always ask it there as well. So just a little bit about MSM and the facts. So we are the second oldest business school in the Netherlands, and we actually specialize just in management and business administration. So we don't have bachelor degrees in 1,000 different topics or specialized master degrees. We really focus on general management and business administration. And so our short courses, our executive education programs are also focused on these topics. What's important to know for you is that our degrees are internationally accredited, so you will be able to work in different countries and your degree will be recognized there. And that is very important to look at. So both locally in the Netherlands as well as internationally, your degree will have that recognition. And also always nice to know is that the Master in Management is ranking very well. It's topped once again, came in the top 20 of the best 200 Master in Management programs. And in the Netherlands, it ranked the second best Master in Management program. And we were quite proud of that. A little bit about the Netherlands itself, for those of you that might not have had the opportunity to visit that before, is that it's a small but very diverse and interesting country to live in or to study in. Maastricht itself is all the way down to the south, so you see this green appendix stuck in between Belgium and Germany. That's where we are, so the province Limburg. And Maastricht is really on the border of Belgium, so 10 minutes away from Belgium and 20 minutes away from Germany, which also makes it quite an interesting city to be in because of the travel opportunities. The Dutch are famous for its open-minded, friendly people, and it has a very good education system. But also you can easily speak English to the people in the Netherlands because they're also fluent in English. I don't know, Alka and Gabrielle. Well, Alka, when you arrived in the Netherlands, were you stressed a bit about being able to communicate with the locals?
No, not at all, actually. And it was my first time to going abroad, and that was Netherlands. But I'm really happy that it went really well because everyone was speaking English, and even the environment was really friendly. That you see stranger, they wish good morning, good afternoon to you. So those nice little gestures are always makes you feel really good.
Yeah, Gabrielle?
True. Yeah, actually, I think it's the highest, the nation with the highest proficiency in English in Europe.
Yep.
So
yep.
Everyone speaks really good English, and it's almost like now that I stay here for more than 2 years, it's almost hard to learn Dutch for how much they switch to English.
Yes.
And so that's definitely not a problem. And yeah, I found myself really well, both in Maastricht and now in Amsterdam. I find Dutch people to be very easygoing and cool people, friendly.
And did either of you use your orientation year permit while you were in the Netherlands?
Me personally, I did not. I was directly employed right after, or even before graduation, actually. I finished the thesis in Amsterdam and then, so I did not, no.
Okay. And Alka, you didn't need to because you were doing an internship at OPEC, right?
Yeah, OPCW. Yeah, I was doing internship at OPCW, Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapon, and they provide diplomat card to their intern and employees. So that's why I didn't have to use my Zukiar that time. So yeah, I didn't use Zukiar, but next year I'm planning to use it just because right now I'm working as a consultant, so it doesn't matter from where I'm working from. So yeah, I'm planning to move to Netherlands.
Okay, nice. So for those of you that don't know about this, this is something that is highly advantageous if you are coming from a country outside of Europe. You don't need to have a work permit that first year after you finish studying, because you can apply for an orientation year permit. And so this orientation year permit allows you to stay in the Netherlands for 1 year after your studies. Now, in Alka's case, for example, you have up to 3 years to use that opportunity. So, you know, if you finish your studies and then decide to work somewhere else, and then after 2-3 years come back to the Netherlands to use that orientation permit, it's still a possibility. And that is quite a nice advantage for people that want to develop and stay in the Netherlands after their studies. Now, we briefly touched on the Netherlands. Gabrielle already mentioned that Maastricht is a lovely city. Alka, when you said this was the first time you traveled abroad, right? And you came to the Netherlands, you got to Maastricht. What were your first impressions?
It was really amazing. It was so beautiful. So when I first came to Maastricht, the architect and also the beauty of the city really attracted me, and how it was really close to Belgium and Germany. So that was quite fascinating, because when you are living in a country like India and there are borders and then you move to EU, I know Gabriel won't feel the same, but I felt it that, yeah, you don't have borders. So yeah, that was really amazing. Like, you want to go to Belgium. So even during my stay, first week in Maastricht, I went to see my friend in Belgium. So that was really amazing. And other than that, I really love the river in Maastricht. Yeah, this river Maas. Yeah, it looks really amazing during summer time.
Yeah. I actually do my open water swimming training in that water, so I know it can be really beautiful there. Gabrielle, you wanted to add something?
Well, for me, I was moving from Berlin to Maastricht, so a very big city, to a smaller city. So at the beginning, I was afraid, is it going not to be not big enough? Will I get bored? But actually, it's a university city, and Alka raised a really nice thing that actually made the whole year really enjoyable. You are together with a lot of people from everywhere in the world. So you learn so much about things that maybe you didn't know before, both for Europe, but also from all over the world. And again, as Alka said, you can visit Germany, which is 1 hour away. Belgium is 10 minutes by bike. I remember some weekends I would just take my bike, go until I could hear people speaking French, and then go back. No, it's at the end, you have fun. You always have something to do, and it's a university city, so you meet a lot of people your age. Yeah, really cool.
Never boring.
No.
Good. No, it is an amazing city, and it is something I wanted to highlight, even though it's not specifically on topic today, because I know obviously for master in management students, the fact to come abroad, it's already a challenge. It's an adventure, but to know that you're going to be ending up in an amazing city always does help. It's a relief. Now, something that is more on topic, and it's actually one of the things that we personally at MSM feel is one of the biggest advantages of studying at MSM, and you already mentioned it briefly, but it's the diversity of the class profile. So the students coming from all over the world with different backgrounds. So you're thrown in a class of students with engineering, sales, IT, sustainability, marketing, all these different backgrounds, legal backgrounds, philosophical backgrounds. And you have to then work with these people in group works throughout the year. And we personally believe that this diversity is one of the biggest advantages of your study during the year, that you're going to develop a lot of soft skills thanks to these group works, thanks to these, working with different profiles. Now, Alka and Gabrielle, you're both actually you're working now in a different country to where you're from. Do you think that this diversity helped you? But how did the fact that the students were so international help you in opening up your horizons? I don't know, Gabrielle, maybe you can start.
No, absolutely. So first of all, the experience in the master itself, we had a course about cultural diversity where you actually also learn about all the differences and commonalities, but also just the experience of just living this year with people from all over the world was really, really useful then in the workplace. For example, now I'm in a logistic company, so we do stuff with people all over the world. And still to this day, I still use some of the things that I learned in my job. And also, it was actually really useful, especially to understand that, each culture is different. So you have to approach each person differently, basically, just to also have that cultural proficiency to be respectful towards everyone.
Yeah. Alka?
Yeah, exactly. I can completely agree with what Gabriela said. For me, it really helped me because when I did my internship, just after graduation, I did my internship in OPCW, that is like international organization, and there you meet different people. But I didn't feel any time, I didn't feel hesitate. I didn't feel anything at all, like negative thing. I really learned a lot from working with these different people. So, and for that aspect, I can say that my MSM experience helped me, and that that was my first subject. Yeah, our first subject, managing cultural diversity with Stephanie Jones. It really helped me. And other than that, even when you work in group assignment, you just don't do the assignment. You also talk about each other, and then you get to know, okay, this is the cultural difference in that country, and then you share those stories, and it create a bond while even we are different, but we are the same. So it actually is one of the strong factor which helped me even now also.
We learn from each other as well. For example, the Dutch people are said to be direct and confrontational. So if there is something wrong, they tell you, like with no obstacles, let's say. And at the beginning, I was a bit shocked. I was like, are people rude to me? But then I learned, and actually now that I go back to Italy, my family thinks, oh wow, you're so honest now. Like you say everything that you have in mind. So that changed you a bit, I think.
Yeah. I'm often told it's quite refreshing the way the Dutch people work, because it's not, you don't beat around the bush, you don't take a half an hour to get to a point. It's just straightforward, and they say it.
Yeah, there's no double meaning, like, oh, but did they mean really this? No, it's what they say.
Exactly. And so it's all about learning about that. And like you said yourself, knowing when someone is from a certain nationality, that you need to take that step back, because sometimes there might be a double meaning, and also know in other cultures there is no double meaning. And so effectively, it's all the things that you learn during the year. Now let's go a bit more into detail, and we talk a little bit more about what do companies want. Now, before I talk about the research we've done on that topic, when you were applying for jobs, and now Gabrielle, you already said you were lucky you got something offered to you during your thesis. What do you think were the skills maybe that stood out that they were looking for that made you a good fit for that? And you know, what was important for them?
I think one of the biggest skills was flexibility and the ability to adapt to new challenges, basically. What I realized is that in a lot of job interviews, they try to give you a question that they know you haven't prepared, just to see how you react, just to see if you're quick on your feet, basically. And the fact that we did basically every 2 weeks or 1 month, we changed subject and we had an exam on it. It's a course where you have to switch a lot of time. Helped me in that to just always be ready to change and to adapt and to be flexible. So I think, yeah, flexibility.
Good one. Alka, from your side, what did you experience? What were they looking for?
I really think that soft skills, because hard skills you really can learn, and these days most of the employers are looking for soft skill like creative problem solving, your emotional intelligence, and your flexibility. Like if you are flexible enough to change your schedule also, like just a minor example, and also like how you are ready to learn different things, because in right now I'm also working as a freelancer, and I'm working as a content marketing manager. So before graduation I didn't have that experience in creativity at all. I didn't see myself as creative, but during working during my time in MSM, I learned those skills and I got to know, okay, we can try this too. You can, but the most important thing is your soft skills. And in this knowledge management profile, it is really important because you have to be kind of the center for your whole organization, because you have to give reasons to the organization that why coordination is really important, why there should be proper communication between different branch, and how you can use the knowledge for the benefits of organization. And I can really say that those communication, this analytical thinking or problem solving skill, and even leadership skill, because here in my current role I'm the only one in the organization who is taking care of this knowledge management, because knowledge management is really new domain. So I have to be a leader. I have to get those skills. I have to be confident that I can say that, you have to change your strategy because it is not aligned. It doesn't align with knowledge management. So those things I can really say that I learned from MSM only during my master time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Alka that soft skills are really, really important. Because at the end, as she said, you can always then teach hard skill later on. But if you have the right attitude, then people will be interested.
Great. Well, we'll actually look at that now. Just now we'll cover the curriculum and also the non-curricular activities that we did to help you with those soft skills. But just for the audience, it would be interesting to know that the skills that were deemed most important by companies, and this is research that's been done over the last 3-4 years, and it's becoming more and more obvious that with the digital transformation and the world that's, I mean, if we look now, this crazy times we're living in, all working from home, like Alka living in India, but working for a company in Cape Town in South Africa. I mean, it's crazy. A few years ago, even 2 years ago, no one would have expected that to be possible. And it's what's most important in those soft skills is a lot of what Alka and Gabrielle just mentioned. So that adaptability, I think, is an absolutely vital skill to be able to face the future, and companies are really looking for that. That self-starter attitude that Alka mentioned as well, to be proactive and actually do things that you never thought you'd be able to do beforehand. And she mentioned that creative problem solving, because more and more this world we're getting thrown to, we're getting thrown challenges that we never expected we would have have to solve. So this whole COVID situation, once again, required a lot of creative problem solving from companies. And so more and more companies are looking for students with those soft skills when they look to hire them. We've already mentioned the sensitivity to cultural awareness, and that is also strongly linked to that ability to work in a team. So these are the skills that, based on the research, the companies are focusing on when hiring students, because once again, like Alka and Gabrielle mentioned, studies have also shown that companies aren't that interested in the hard skills, because that they can train you in. It's about what you've developed as a person that's going to be much more important than whether you can adapt to the job. And so that's how we then looked at this Master in Management. So we created a program where we were looking for young professionals, dynamic, fresh graduates with less than 3 years of working experience, so that you can really still learn from one another. And the way the program has been created is to help you to connect all the theories that you learn on paper to practice. And so, like was already mentioned, the courses are 2 weeks. So you do 1 week of marketing in class, and then you have a week to work on your group assignments and your individual assignments before working on your next one. And then you've got a group company project, and you've got your research, your academic paper, your thesis that you have to work on. And then throughout the year, we've got a personal development program. And I'm going to go into that a bit more in detail. So the first thing that I wanted to highlight is the curriculum. We've touched on some of those courses before. Basically, the 3 key elements that MSM believes in and that the curriculum has been built around is sustainable development, entrepreneurship and innovation, and then obviously this changing world, so this digital transformation. And so you can see in the curriculum, there are courses that we believe are going to be extremely important to students to help face the future challenges. Now, talking about the curriculum, Gabrielle and Alka, taking you back 2 years ago, if you think, maybe Alka, which are the courses that you think you wouldn't like, but ended up surprising you as being something where you really learned something that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I can actually say that entrepreneurship and innovation, because I didn't see myself back then that I can be an entrepreneur. But when I worked on assignment, so assignment was about you have to interview an entrepreneur who has a company, but it's like a small company. And then while doing that assignment, I felt like, yeah, this is something really amazing. And when you add that innovation and also even sustainability factor also, then this is the real solution world is looking for. So I can say that, yeah, entrepreneurship and innovation is even right now also I give this example to some of my friends if they ask, okay, how MSM curriculum looks like. So I tell them it's like theory, and then you apply it into practices, because in class our professor taught us about different theories around entrepreneurship. Then we had to write a paper applying those theory and interview in an assignment. So yeah, it is the one.
Yeah.
And Gabrielle?
For me, it was data analytics, because I come from the creative industry, the music industry. So same as Alka, I thought, oh no, analytics, it's not going to be for me, etc., etc. But actually, was first of all extremely interesting, and second of all, both data analytics and digital transformation of business. What I learned in those 2 classes, then it was one of the first projects I could really give an input in my traineeship afterward in my work experience, in my work basically. Because at the end, most of the professors in MSM are also researchers, so they have a lot of knowledge of the latest things that are happening. So in this year, you get all this knowledge that you think, oh, this is the standard now. And then you go to the work environment and you think, oh, wow, actually, this is not the standard. Like all these things that I learned, I can actually apply it. Yeah. It was the same with human resource management. I got involved in a project because of all the things that I learned about group dynamics and how to also manage cultural diversity. All things at the beginning, it seems they seem all disconnected, but then they all come together in a very solid foundation that you can use afterwards.
Exactly. I like to hear that. I also, when I did the MBA, and a lot of the courses are a bit similar to the Master in Management, obviously it's just a bit different in, you know, the profile of the group and some of the assignments. But I remember I had the same feeling as Alka with entrepreneurship, thinking I'm not going to enjoy it. And then it's a lot of papers we had to read, and you had to interview the entrepreneur. But it was really an eye-opening experience as well. And I agree also with the data analytics. It's something I didn't think I'd enjoy, but it's extremely important if, you know, for the future of the workplace. I think it's one of those absolutely key courses that's going to make a big difference in understanding business. So going a little bit more in depth, because after you've done those core courses, there are a few more courses that we like to see it as a bit more unique. We work on a few more specific topics that we think are important as well. And one of them is obviously the personal development portfolio. Now, this is different to the career service that you get as an optional choice, but for the personal development portfolio, and we've mentioned now how important soft skills are. Alka, how has that helped you in your career, this portfolio? Is Alka frozen? I think she's frozen. Gabrielle, maybe you can go.
Okay, yes. The personal development portfolio was really interesting because it was the first time that you take the time to learn about yourself and what you're good at and what you could be improved, basically. And it's really, really important because at the end of the program, or even during the program, you might be wondering, okay, what do I want to do next? Where do I want to go? And this portfolio was really, really nice because you get to do a lot of tests and let's say, attitudinal tests and personality tests that help you shape who you are, basically. And it was really helpful to see what I would like in the future.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. So about PDP, I can really say that it is something which everyone even you are not going for MM or not, you should actually go for. So it helped me to reflect on my personality, who I am and what I really want to do, what is the action plan, what are my key strengths, what are my weaknesses. And it really when I created that portfolio, I did my own introspection with looking at the past, like what was the experience and how it shaped me. And it was divided into two parts, and that was the good part, because in the first part was when you just started this MM course in MSM, and then the second part when you are just about to end the MM, and then you can see that how I am developed and evolved during those short frame of time.
Yeah. And the supply chain projects, I actually think we should call it value chain rather than supply chain, because it's not just about, it's about understanding how business is affected by all the various decisions. Gabrielle, you're now working in a logistics company. How did that supply chain project actually measure up to reality?
So that was my first time approaching supply chain, and again, I thought at the beginning I wouldn't like it, and but at the end it was it was nice because they gave you some questions to reflect, which are at a, let's say, a higher level, a global level, a strategical level. So basically, it's an experience that forces you to think at that bird's eye view, at that big picture level. And that was extremely, extremely important for the first experience that I did afterwards, which was a traineeship, where basically I was put in different departments to try and find challenges, and then solve them, basically. And that mindset of not going into detail and start working whatever it's in front of you, but just to, take a step back and look at the department and think, okay, what can I fix? What is a strategical point of view that I can take? How this department relates to another, or this branch relates to another. and you learn to think at that level. And I think that's really, really valuable.
Yeah. Alka, and from you, were you able to use that project in any way in your work?
Say that I am able to use all the subjects, all the projects in any way, because it's again about the skills you gain. The theory part you always can learn, right? So during working on supply chain management, yeah, I remember we were divided into different parts, and then that project was related with the Netscope company, which is quite big. And I'm happy to share, even right now also, I am in contact with the organization of Netscope. So those networking skills, I can say it is really important when you work on company project itself, not just supply chain or not just inclusion. That connection, that how you should network, how you can you don't have to think about, okay, that person can give me a job, that's why you should network. No, it can help you even building a really good connection within that region, within that area, and within that even field. So I can say I gained some good connection, and also because it was a group project, and there was some aspect of sustainability also, because I'm a sustainability enthusiast. So I really enjoyed working on that project, and yeah, I developed myself.
So talking about that, you mentioned that briefly now, was obviously a lot of the teaching was you could actually learn by doing. You know, you had your cases, you had some company visits. Was there anything, when you think back at a guest lecture or a simulation game or a case study, that really stood out for you, Alka?
I can remember that the guest lectures were really helpful because the people who are in the industry, they have like decades of experience. They come to you and then they tell you their story, and then you get to know, okay, what is the real situation of the industry of that particular market. That is something I really enjoyed, and that even stood out in some way for me. And yeah, company visit, we done around 3 company visit, 2 for company project and 1 for even for entrepreneurship and innovation. We did 1 more company visit, and that was related to sustainability again, and sustainable agriculture, and how you can apply innovation there. So I can remember that was really great experience for me. Like you can see how you can apply all these things together. So sustainability is not just civil service; it is more than that.
Gabriel.
Definitely. For me, it was the learning by doing. So basically, I come from Italy, and I think I can speak for a lot of people in the audience. Italian university is very theoretical, so you learn about the theory and a lot of the theory, but then you end up and you have a bit of struggle to relate that to the real world. Whereas in MSM was kind of the opposite. You get the theory, but then immediately they give you a real case of something that really happened somewhere, and you have to basically use what you learned directly into a real case scenario. And that's something that was different for me, but that I find it very valuable, because you learn hands-on experience basically.
Yeah. And that's also what you already alluded to just now. When you actually get into the job, you realize, oh, I can actually do this. You know, it's prepared you for the job without you even realizing it. Well, if you do just a standard university and it's just theory, you've never learned to apply that. So then it's still figuring things out when you start to work.
Yeah, and then you get inside the work, and it's again a case, a scenario. So you enter somewhere, you're like, okay, this is a scenario. How can I, work on it? So it's a good strategy, a good method, basically.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, go for it.
Sorry, Hermina. I can actually add a very good point to that. So before MM, I had already one Master of Commerce, and from India only. And that was totally about theory. I didn't, if I look back, I can say that I didn't learn not anything at all, because it was just theory, and you just use the book, okay, that's fine, but you don't know how to apply. But when I shifted to, of course, Maastricht, and I did my that was completely different experience, because the subject was almost same, right? The accounting, you learn accounting in MCOM, also you learn business involvement, strategy and planning, everything in MCOM, but it was again different, because you are actually applying those things, those theories, those important theory and application part.
And actually, one of those examples that you just mentioned, one of the best, I think, nice things of the Mastery of Management was also the company project, right? Where you work on a specific problem for the company, you work against one another, right? So you divide it into teams and you're given a challenge, and it's sort of like, may the best team win type of thing. In your year, you had the sustainable theme. Maybe Gabrielle, can you tell us a little bit how that went?
Yeah, we worked with a company called Pink Vision. I think me and Alka were in the same team, weren't we? Do you remember the subjects that we discussed? Was something about up trade and trade back.
Exactly. So the Pink Vision, that company was related to the that company was working as a consultant, and that is helping their client in providing a sustainable solution in 6 domains. So we got one domain related to customs. So there was key problem that how we can use sustainability to bring the efficient solution. So there was question about trade in, trade off. So the company, they do the company from Europe, they have to do their waste management, and they have to send their used you can say used phone to different country. And then when you are sending this, then how this tax regulation from 2 different country work, and how you should actually pay for the waste dumping price, like then how the tax works. So yeah, I worked on that project, and it was really helpful for me, because before that I didn't know about that. There's something like that exists that how do you how this cycle of waste management, recycling, reusing, how it works. And while working on that project, I got to know about some theories, and also I got to meet some really good people. And even current, like I'm working on knowledge management, which is not very much related to sustainable development, but I just 1 month back I got PhD offer in sustainability related to KPIs, sustainable development KPIs. And then you can relate, okay, I actually learned this in a sustainable project, and how you can make those KPIs revolve around waste management.
Yeah. And Gabrielle?
Well, yeah, I think Alka covered a lot. I think, especially the networking part that she mentioned already.
Yeah.
All these company visits and all these external, let's say, visits help you also to meet new people and to meet new industries that maybe you never met before.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Open up your horizons to more options. Now, we already talked about the teachers, about the fact, and I think, Gabrielle, you mentioned that they're researchers, but they also have the professional experiences, so they can bring the best of both worlds to the classroom. But one thing that I always find is so important for other students to understand, or potential they are. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something that I've always had the impression that MSM professors are very, if you've got a question, you can just go to the office. Was that the case for you as well?
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, I have to say to everyone, take advantage of this, because you are in this class with these people. We had a person who I think was a CEO currently when Andy, when he was our professor, and now he moved to a really high position within the European Commission, or European Commission, I think, for food.
EIT, yeah.
IT. Also, the person in the middle was our finance professor, also super knowledgeable guy. So you have these people both from the work environment as well as from the academic environment. So people who are currently publishing papers. So they have a lot of knowledge. So take advantage of that, and you can always go to them and ask questions. And yeah, they're very open, it's a nice opportunities to have these people and to be able to just ask questions.
Definitely. Just briefly also for the career development, because obviously we have to move on a bit, and this is slightly less important for today, but it is important to know as well that at MSM we do offer career services for the students. And I know Gabrielle and Alka, you were both in all of those workshops, but basically these workshops are focusing on the skills that will help you in finding a job quicker. So basically providing you with all the tools to stand out during a job application. So from a career skill development, we will help you with writing a good CV or good motivation letter, or the type of questions you can expect in an interview. We also do a little bit on the personal development side of things, but focusing specifically to career. So the psychometric tests that we do for the students are focused on how can that help you with your career. And then we do some fun evenings as well, the movie nights, the debate nights. We have a sustainable development week, and then we also have afterwards the personalized services for the students. So if you have an interview coming up, the students or the alumni can contact us. So we do a mock interview practice together. We can give feedback on the CV. We have the corporate week where we introduce students to companies and all of that. So obviously we do try and provide a lot of extra services in that sense as well. We also introduced some student competitions. Now, in the year that you were there, Alka, I think it was the Internet of Things. After that, we also added in an additional student competition on the Sustainable Development Goals. You actually did quite well on the Internet of Things challenge, Alka, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. Our team won the competition for agriculture team. Yeah. The topic was related to connected farmer. The topic itself was called connected farmers. So how we can use IoT in sustainable agriculture. And what we did, we took farming problem of Netherlands, though Netherlands is best in, it's like role model for farming, and it has the mechanization is very top notch in Netherlands. But again, there was some issue regarding the marketing marketing mismatch, and then we tried to put IoT in that to solve that issue. And so we were 3 in team, and with my colleague, actually we won the prize under IoT agriculture team.
Perfect. And we do this as well because we believe that, you know, it's sometimes also good, a bit like with the company projects that you did, but without having that academic pressure, to have like those sprint proposal moments where you work with a company on a project very specifically, and once again, have that networking opportunity, that pitch practice. So all of that is skills that we believe will help you when you've finished your degree. Now, just talking briefly about the career progression, because basically when you finish your degree, now, Gabrielle, you were actually in an advantage because you actually got a job offer during your thesis. That happens quite sometimes when students do a topic, you know, that's interesting for the company. How did that go for you?
So the last 3 months were quite, let's say, stressful for me because I got accepted to an internship in marketing for a company in Amsterdam. But at the same time, I was finishing my thesis. So I had also to do some interviews in Amsterdam for this thesis. So it was really stressful because it was the first time that I had to work from 9 to 5 and then after 5 work a bit. But I still remember it as a really, really nice new experience because everything was new city, new job. And after that, basically everything went quite fast because that experience lasted exactly as long as the thesis. I remember on Friday of end of August, I presented the thesis the last time, and the Monday after I started with the traineeship, which was the next experience that I did. And I got an insight of this multinational, basically, of logistics. So, and after that, it was very quick for me. Probably I got lucky, but it was really, really exciting, stressful, but a nice transition, let's say.
And Alka, you worked for a year in at the chemicals organization against chemical weapons company, the organization. And for you, how long did it take you before you got that opportunity?
So I was working on thesis that time in July, and that time only I got interviewed for this OPCW, and also even for one more UN organization, United Nations organization based in Geneva. So that time I was such in a dilemma. I had to focus on my thesis because the deadline was very soon in August, and then I had to choose from these two, and then making all those arrangements. Then on in August I did my thesis defense, and the same day I moved to The Hague for my internship in OPCW. So that was really hectic. And at that time, if I look back at that thing, it actually sometimes I feel like, oh, how did I do that? But it was something I'm actually proud of, that defense and handling all those things
at the same time. So what we do notice generally is when you've just graduated, I mean, an average student, obviously not everyone has that amazing experience that Alka and Gabrielle have, but it takes them about 0 to 3 months. Some take a bit longer because they first travel, but generally within the 6 months, when you start, you're more or less in the same situation as anyone else on the job market, except that with the Master in Management experiences that you've had, this hands-on knowledge, when you actually do enter the job market, you start noticing this progression. So we often notice that Master in Management students will start in a junior position or traineeships, like Gabrielle also mentioned. You're part of a team, but often thanks to this overall experience that we've already mentioned as well, that you get through all these assignments and this supply chain project that we mentioned and the other company projects, you have a competitive edge. And that's where we start noticing that quite quickly within the first year or two, you start proving yourself, you start standing out. And this is where in the year after that, from about 2-3 years onwards, you start standing out. Now, Gabrielle, thinking about now where you are now, because you've already moved up, how has your career progression gone so far?
It's going well. It's really going well. As you mentioned, you mentioned a really good point. The competitive advantages, apart from, of course, having on your CV a Master in Management, that always helps, but also the knowledge that you get and the big picture, as I said before, the fact that you have this wide program with a lot of topics give you really a wide scope of any organization. So whenever you enter an organization, you are able to connect the dots, and that's really, really sought after for managerial positions. So, for example, I did the traineeship role for 1 year, and now I'm part of this lead program, which is another program to train people to become managers. So basically, that's the direction I'm going. Finger crossed. But so definitely gives a competitive advantage.
And we also were able to see this with other statistics when we look back at people that graduated in 2016 and look at what they're doing now. It was really nice to see how nearly 95% of them, so nearly everyone, had a very strong, visible career progression over those last few years. And that's why we believe our Master in Management has set up the program in such a way to help everyone. So just talking quickly about that, because I get a lot of people asking me, where do they come from? Well, basically everywhere. So a lot of students do end up finding jobs in the Netherlands, but others go back to their home countries or elsewhere, like Alka now in Cape Town. And so it's a very global spread after the studies. And also the companies that they work for. Some are very big, some are very small, some are non-governmental organizations, some are the big international firms. And so we do have quite a nice spread of alumni working in a whole different range of jobs. But what I found very interesting was that about 15% of the students actually ended up starting their own company very successfully. And this was a statistic I hadn't expected. And once again, like Alka already mentioned, this knowledge that you're going to be building up, this confidence, this self-awareness is really going to help you in looking forward to that. So just a little bit of practical information, and then we are nearly done. Basically, the Master in Management for 2021 will cost 16,000 euros. The good news is that there are scholarships available, and Inka will share the link in the chat. But if you do have any other questions regarding that, you can contact Inka for the information. So scholarships can be combined, but to a maximum of 50%. There's a Dean's Development Fund and a regional fund, a European fund. So basically, depending on where you live, you would automatically benefit from a certain discount. And if you want to apply, applications are still open. So the deadline for the non-Europeans is 1st of August, and non-Europeans, the Europeans is for 15th of September. You need to remember for the Master Management, it's a maximum of 3 years. If it's sort of like the gray zone of experience. And you need to upload all the other documents, which are pretty standard in the application process. I would recommend focusing on the motivation letter though. And then there is an application fee of 95 euros. Once you've submitted all of that, you get invited to an interview. And then after the interview, if you decide to join MSM and you've paid your first installment, well, then you still have to either complete the GMAT or the GRE, or do our MSM leveling courses, which are 4 courses that you do before the start of the semester to make sure that you are sort of getting back into that study mode. And those are free of charge for you if you pay that, once you've paid that first installment. So that leaves us with just a few minutes to spare for questions. And I've seen that the chat has been very busy. I think Inka has been quite active with with that. But Inka, are there any questions for Alka or Gabrielle or for myself?
Thank you, Amina. Yes, we actually got one question from Winter. Okay, Winter, I'm not quite sure where you're from. Maybe you want to type it in the chat. But it's a question for Gabrielle and Alka. Does this program give you any opportunity to join a competition? So is there like a business plan competition or a marketing plan competition? And maybe Alka, you or Gabriele, you unmuted yourself. Sorry.
No, I just was going to say, Alka, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so I actually mentioned that I participated in Dutch IoT Challenge, and it was actually within less than 3 months. I started my my program there in October, and I actually won that competition in December. So within those 3 months, we got opportunity to participate in the competition. And after graduation also, I participated in some other challenges related to sustainability, like Nudge Global Impact Challenge and Leadership for Racial Equity program. So yeah, it actually helps you to give that edge, as I told you, that you have experienced during your master program while working on company project and while working on consultancy project. And other than that, when you are working in group, you gain those soft skills that actually shape you in participating those competition challenge. And of course, problem analytical thinking, problem solving skill, and creativity. That is one those are the key factors which can help you.
All right, thank you. And then I don't know, Gabriele, did you want to add anything to it, or is it all clear?
No, I think she answered quite thoroughly.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Then another question. Hermina.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that since Alka and Gabrielle graduated, we actually added on the Sustainable Development Goals Challenge. So that's also an external competition too. Actually, one is an inter-university challenge where MSM's team actually competes against other universities. And then there's the internal one where we have 5 or 6 MSM teams that are connected with external companies, and they are basically then pitched to a jury, and the jury decides which is the best pitch for them. So we have added on some additional challenges, both externally and internally as well.
All right, thank you. And then we had also 2 more questions about the backgrounds. I mean, one is from Arsen, and Arsen has an architecture background. And then Duruf is interested in data analytics. So maybe, Amina, can you explain a bit more about the diversity in class and where the students are coming from and how it can benefit any background?
Yeah, well, basically, if you think about it logically, there's management in everything, right? Even if you've got your own company, you need to manage yourself. So if you're in supply chain or at a university or teaching at a primary school or, you know, at the United Nations, there's going to be some form of management required. And so we don't expect students to have a certain background beforehand. In fact, we encourage students to come from different backgrounds. We try and make sure that you have the classroom has a diverse, not only cultural background experience, but also academic background experience, because we believe that's how you're going to learn. If you're in a class just with engineers, you're going to still, at the end of that class, think like an engineer. But if you're thrown into the class with people from sales and marketing and legal and engineering and IT, all already with their different approaches to things, and then you add that cultural aspect, we believe that you're going to get a much richer management experience. However, we do know that some things in management is important to have some of those bases, and that's why we do the leveling courses. So if you don't have the opportunity to do a GMAT or a GRE, then the leveling courses is sort of like those pre-courses just to get you familiar with some of the jargon. So it's courses in finance, accounting, statistics, and economics. And honestly, they're very boring. So I would recommend having a cup of coffee with them when you do them. But it's really just to get you back into that mode of study. And if you don't have that knowledge, you know, getting you on that same foundation as everyone else. And if you already have that foundation, well, that's great. Then it will go very quick for you to do the courses.
Thank you, Amina. Actually, the online leveling courses would have been another question, so you already answered that one.
2 in 1.
I also did not see any other questions in the chat. I mean, if you want, now is still the moment to ask Gabriel and Alka. But I see we're also almost at the end of the event. So let me quickly type my email address here.
And maybe also share the link for the ambassadors, the Unibuddy, where students can.
Will do.
Yeah, so we have, I think both of you are ambassadors, right? And we have a link so that if you want to chat with our students and alumni and actually find out how they experienced it in more detail without us monitoring them and making sure that they're saying good things about MSM, you know, it's a very honest conversation that you can have with the students and alumni to find out, you know, how the experience was. So Inka will share that link as well. So if you have any questions, you can always follow up with them via that chat.
All right, there's actually one more question, Amina. Is the MM taught online or on campus, face-to-face?
It is right now face-to-face. Obviously, COVID this year created a bit of a stir. So most of it was sort of like done via Zoom or hybrid. So our classes have been set up 100% to be able to provide hybrid option if it is necessary. It might be good for you to know as well, if you are in a country where currently you cannot travel to the Netherlands because of COVID, we have set it up so that our September intake will be hybrid. So you can start doing the classes via Zoom. And the teachers have been trained in how to incorporate everyone into the group. So it is as if you are part of the group. So it is a really good experience if you can't make it. So it is a good alternative. But we don't have a full online master in management program yet. So the online version that we did this year, that was because of COVID. It's not an online program the way we've got an online MBA. We are working on something like that. So it is something that might come up in the next 2 years. But for right now, if you want to do the master in management, it's a face-to-face experience.
Do we have time for one more question?
I'm fine.
Okay, there's a question from Arsen. Thank you for that, about the student visa, if MSM is helping to prepare for the visa application.
Well, I'll let Alka answer that because she needed to go through that process. And, you know, I know it's always scary. So maybe she can say how Stephanie helped her.
Actually, MSM really helped me. I can totally say that, because I talked to some of my friends who are studying in Germany, and even some other public university in Netherlands. Then they have to take care, those friends of mine, they have to take care of all the process by themselves. But in my case, I was just at home and I just communicated to MSM via email, and then I got my visa. I didn't have to go to embassy. Yeah, just to collect my visa and give my biometrics, I had to go to embassy at that time. But normally MSM did everything for me, and I'm really glad for that.
Yeah, so it is something we often get feedback from the students about. Is it's actually one of the reasons they choose MSM in the end, is also because of the service they get from the admissions office. It's something that I'm very, very proud of how they work. So you will be really guided and supported all the way through, also to help you with looking for houses that would be the best solution for you. So we've got a student housing officer that can make recommendations for you. And also for the visa process, our admissions team really help you throughout the process. They'll tell you which documents that you need. They'll tell you if it's correct. They'll, then they guide you throughout the process. So I'm glad you had a good experience as well, Aka.
Okay, well, for now, there are no other questions, Amina.
Great. Thank you all for this very informative and very dynamic session. If I have to sum up, I'll say that what companies want, they definitely are looking for soft skills like teamwork, communication, problem solving, cultural awareness. And yes, these are skills that Master in Management can help you develop, and especially through a program that is practically oriented and oriented towards the needs of each and every individual student, such as the MSM Master in Management program. So have a look at the website, have a look at the entry requirements and admissions process. And if you have any questions, you already have Inka's email. So Hermina, Inka, Gabriele, and Auke, thank you very much for this session. I hope to see you soon, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Alka. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Hermina.
It was a pleasure. We'll keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.